Hello, and welcome to the 8th episode of our new Too Much Tully Big Brother Australia mini-series. After backstabbing her alliance member Nick in Monday night's episode, 33-year-old Outback mum Melissa was told to hit the road after receiving 9 votes last night. An early challenge beast from country South Australia, Mel was a fierce competitor trying to take it home for her family after a rough few years full of bushfires and droughts. Let's bring the powerhouse in. Mel, firstly, thank you so much for joining us on Too Much Tully today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we jump into it, we've got to talk about your vote to evict Nick. Just how hard was that for you?
It actually took me a long time. I was weighing up every scenario because I had no idea what way it was going. They'd all told me I was safe, but I trusted none of them because they've all told me I was safe before and stabbed me in the back, or were going to in the very first eviction. So I was like, if all the votes are going on Nick, well, my vote won't even make a difference. Then I thought, if all the votes are going to go on me, and I kind of knew Tilly was going to vote for me, I was like, it might come down to like one vote, and they're probably thinking I'm going to throw it on Ari, so mine won't be worth anything. So I was like, to save myself, I've got to just put it onto Nick that way. And then the third one was, they're all telling me the truth. Nick's going home and I'm going to have to work with Ari in the future. And Ari is like quite cunning and everything. I thought I probably don't want to put my vote on him and then ask to work with him an hour later. So it was kind of piecing it all up, what I had to weigh up. And poor Nick, it cut me deep, and I cried when I rewatched it. But we're good now. He definitely we took a while to connect back up because I was like, oh my God, does he hate me forever? But he was like, mate, I was angry with you for like 1 minute. So I was like, cool, am I still going to your wedding? Yes. Excellent.
He did say that yesterday. You could tell he was still hurting when he spoke about it, but then he also said that you guys are sweet and that you went to the wedding. So I'm glad that you've all patched things up. But it was a tough one watching that, and it was a tough one. You could just see his little heartbreak, couldn't you?
Oh, he had never watched Big Brother before, so he actually thought you could get to the end without backstabbing anyone. And I had watched all the past series and I'd watched overseas stuff, and I was like, you kind of have to be ruthless to save yourself. I'd known him for 20 days and I just got those letters from home in that episode, and it was just a really big reminder to me that, hey, you're here for your family. What if I went home off the one vote? You know, if I had put the one vote on Ari and I'd gone home because of that, I'd never forgive myself and be like, man, you should have played with your head. So, yeah, it was. I don't want to vote anyone out, but especially Nick, because we had plans.
You were thinking endgame, yeah.
Yeah.
You famously said that you couldn't afford to go down with the ship. Did you really think, though, that the other side, the other alliance, would have accepted you long term?
I had like a little side alliance going with Katie, just one-on-one, which wasn't aired because it obviously didn't get anywhere. And she just became extremely tight with Jess, and Jess really wanted me out. And so for her to kind of stand up and defend me, to try and save me, it would have looked a bit sus as well. So we kind of disconnected a few episodes earlier. So, yeah, I kind of thought maybe potentially I could rehash things up with Katie going forward. But, I pretty much knew it was going to be either Nick or I, and then the next night would probably be me. So, but I had to try.
Absolutely. It was pretty gut-wrenching watching Danny find out that Nick had been evicted. You also looked pretty upset. How anxious were you about Danny's return?
Yeah. Oh, man, I've watched him in the house. I'd watched him, but I've always been on his side, and I've watched him how he acts in the house when you're against someone. And I thought, far out, I'm going to cop it. But, he decided to he was like he was rebirthed.
Rebrand himself? He rebranded himself?
He's a salesman. He knows the gift of the gab, works wonders with people. And I think he just hook, line and sinker Katie and Jess believed him, and I think they're going to regret it. I think they're totally going to regret it. So I'm really excited to see what goes down tonight.
Watch this space. You were an early challenge beast, with some of the housemates even voting you as the strongest housemate all up. Was that an area that you expected to excel in?
I had no idea. No idea. I never went to the gym. I never. No, seriously. The gym's so far away from me.
But also,
all I have is
your job's quite physical, right? Like what you do every day is pretty physical. Yeah.
Yeah, farm fit. But I reckon it's all mental when it comes down to it. I mean, Katie trumps me. Oh, a lot of them trump me physically, but it was mental strength that I think the game's all about, and just having kids and mentally sort of, dealing with them, and obviously running a farm and being under immense stress that way. I think I just, mentally got through that better than they did. So
yeah, I mean, some would argue, and I would back that being a mum is the hardest job in the world. So maybe the fact that maybe the kids were your secret weapon.
Oh, absolutely. I was gobsmacked. Once I saw that pit and it was sand, like the arena, I thought, I am absolutely buggered here. Like Katie, she's a bloody world champion sand sprinter. Like I was like, I got no hope. But yeah, I can't believe I actually was the only girl standing in the final four of that last challenge that I was in. Unbelievable. I was a winner regardless of if I actually didn't win it.
Absolutely.
So I felt like I was winning.
Absolutely. Did you have a feeling that Danny was going to leave you out of that limo ride? Did you sense that coming?
Absolutely. I mean, we were against each other, but I still wanted him to win as well. So I was kind of proud of what he was doing, because essentially I'd done that to Nick the episode before, and we were just trying to survive. And I knew if he was smart, don't pick me, pick the other alliance and try to chop my head off.
So you stood back and you could respect the game he was playing.
Oh, totally. I tried to go the other way. We both used different tactics, so we weren't sort of trying to, pitch the same pitch. He pulled it off.
I think I definitely noticed that with Nick's eviction episode. Nick was clearly quite butthurt at Katie for going back on their deal. He seemed really surprised. He seemed shocked. He seemed hurt. And then Sonia kind of flips to you and you're like, fucking fair play, mate. Like, fair play, well done.
Take the shot.
You were like, I would have done the same thing to you, bitch. So like.
I respect the game and I love the play. Nick, again, he's just a true gentleman, legend, had no idea. When we both got to the chopping block and I said, mate, go and try and fight and save your life. Like, rally for yourself. He just wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. So, of course, I looked like a bit of a cow rallying for myself, but he really, he didn't try and fight. So, whereas I knew Dan would fight. Dan would fight for his life. So it was a true battle, and he beat me. So
I just thought that the juxtaposition between the way you and Nick were handling it was just so vast. Like he was like, how dare you? I can't believe you lied to my face. And you're like, Sonia, I mean, what did I expect? Like, what did I expect? Last night, Big Brother unveiled yet another hidden room in the Big Brother house, the panic room. I don't know about you, but I am terrible with maths and numbers. That is literally my idea of a nightmare. How do you think you would have gone in that challenge?
Oh, no, I wouldn't have enjoyed it at all. I probably just would have given up really quick, and especially if I was stuck in there with SJ. Oh my God, we would have probably ended up bickering or something. I don't know. I would have.
There was no rhyme or reason. Like, I'm like, how are you keeping track of what you've already counted and added up? Like, watching it gave me anxiety.
No one was meant to win that. Big Brother's not nice. He had a plan, and as soon as I saw it, I said, we're doomed. Whatever's going to happen. And Tilly refused to give up. It went on for hours and hours because she was terrified the punishment would be putting someone up for eviction. Like, they'd have to pick someone, and she just didn't want that target. So she tried it hard.
I definitely respected that. I definitely respected the fact that they didn't give up, which is more than can be said for, say, Charlotte in every challenge she's attempted so far.
Who's Charlotte?
Yeah, similar comments from all of you so far. Look, call me a masochist or maybe just codependent, but I kind of watched that tethering punishment, the tethering punishment, and I kind of thought that'd be fun. Like, I kind of was like, this is kind of, to me, that's quite traditionally Big Brother. Like, I felt that experience, that experiment, making you all sleep together, be attached together, have to talk together, that to me reeks of old Big Brother and the old format and the human aspect and making you all. So I think that's why I kind of thought, I looked at it, I was like, that'd be fun. Like having a sleepover in the living room.
It wasn't fun. It was actually a really good tactic by Big Brother to create issues because obviously I think at that stage you kind of start to see Mary and SJ start to get a little bit annoyed with perhaps like Katie and Jess because like if I refer it to my own sort of background, they're like Kelpie puppies that are like super energetic. They don't stop. And like if you're attached to them and being yanked and pulled and they just don't stop, you get really like knackered. You get tired of like, you just want to say to them, just calm down for a minute. We need a break. Like, you know, this and that. So you might start to see in the next few episodes that sort of the oldies getting a little bit annoyed with the young ones constantly just, you know, being loud and outrageous and a tad annoying, sort of create divide.
You just can't get away. Like that house is already claustrophobic and suffocating. You know,
going to the toilet was hectic.
The only two places you're by yourself are in the toilet and then in the diary room, right? But you're never actually alone, are you?
No. Yeah, I pleaded for Big Brother, please, can I like separate to go to the toilet? And they're like, no, everyone has to go with you. So I was like, oh my God, I just held on for like 15 hours. I didn't go.
Okay, so talk us through that because they didn't show. See, I was like, this is going to be amazing. This is so much footage for them. This is going to be great content. And then it was just like you guys cooking and then you guys sleeping and it was the end. I was like, no, like what happened when you had to go to the toilet? Did you actually all have to go at the same time?
Yeah, and like too much information, but it was like my time of the month and this and that, and I'm like, oh my God, thankfully I bought those like period undies and stuff like that, and I was like, which I'd never used before, but I'm like, if I'm in a challenge and I'm there for like 17 hours, I'm going to need something.
That's so smart. That is such forward thinking. Which brand?
No one actually thinks.
Are they Moddy Body?
No one thinks. Yeah. So I watched on some other influencers page someone use, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to invest in those before I go in the house because you just don't know.
Do you know what? My best friend from high school, Soph, hey Soph, if you're listening, she works for Moddy Body. She does the social media for them. So she will love this shout out. I'm going to tell her to listen to the episode because she will love that.
Yeah. Yes.
That's amazing. I love that. Were there any funny or awkward moments from that punishment that we didn't get to see?
Yeah, probably like Dan farting. Dan's pretty he was pretty gross and he loved the reactions that all the girls were, giving him. So that just gave him more ammo to release all of his bodily functions.
Did you get any sleep?
Nah, like no one slept except for SJ, who snored all night. She snored every night in that house. Like we were constantly going up to her and like pushing her and shaking her in her bed. She had no idea because she just kept everyone up all night. So
oh my goodness. Who was hating it the most, do you think?
Who was next to her? Mary was next to her and Jess. I think Jess was next to her. So, yeah, it was pretty full on. I was like at the other end next to Tilly. We were bed partners. So that was cool.
I feel like surely Mary was used to the snoring having been in the attic with her.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, a lot of the women in there that had husbands are used to a big foghorn next to them because, men that always snore. But, look, it is what it is. So
I was mainly upset because we tried a few times during my season to have sleepovers and stuff like that. We tried sleeping outside. We tried sleeping in the lounge room just like to change it up for something fun to do. We were never allowed.
Oh, we pretty much, there was always a challenge or something in the middle of the night. They really ramped it up this season. It kind of felt like, interrogation tactics.
Yeah.
Where you obviously, like a lot of the time they had the shutters down. You didn't know if it was day or night. Like I'd wake up and be like, is it 2 a.m. or is it like 7 o'clock. You just didn't know. And I'd go and have a shower, and I'd have like the longest shower because you only have like 3 minutes a person. And I don't have water at home at leisure kind of thing to use. So I was like, you know what, I'm making the most of it. And so many times like Katie and Jess would have to have bucket showers at the end of the day because I'd used all the hot water and they never knew. but yeah, like the interrogation tactics, like not knowing if it's day or night. I'd wake up, have a shower at 2 a.m. and then have to go back to bed, or waking you up every sort of 15 minutes with a buzzer and things like that. I really felt like I was never 100%. Like they always sort of
never relaxed.
Yeah, never. Like my anxiety and my like tension, everything was high. I was in fight or flight mode, like constantly, especially when I first got in the house because I was up for eviction straight away. And I pretty much battled from that day onwards. Anytime I didn't win a challenge, I was up for eviction.
That sounds fucking exhausting. Like I said this before, like I just think we had it so much easier than you guys. Like we literally just sunbaked every day.
Yeah.
That's all we did.
We got told like before going in, the one rule was, like when we're going through the audition process, they didn't want people to just lay around sunbaking. Like that's not the idea of the show.
Then how did Charlotte get in there then?
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, you've always got to have one of them, don't you?
Yeah.
If we otherwise, yeah, like to just bring everyone down a peg or two. Otherwise, it was just so full on as it was. We had a lot of alphas in that house.
Speaking of, watching Danny play the perfect housemate last night was actually kind of relaxing as a viewer. It made for a much more calm show to watch. I felt a lot less anxious, but it almost felt like the good old days where all the housemates got along and nobody talked strategy or alliances. Was his gear change, rebranding, if you will, as obvious in the house as it was in our screens, or was it kind of only Ari, and obviously you would have noticed it, but how is no one else going, what the fuck is happening right now?
So obvious. But the thing about Dan, which I think worked in his favour, people were drawn to him when he wasn't being over the top. So it was easy for them to, like, it was weird. It was just a whirlwind. Like as soon as he flicked the switch, everyone was drawn to him because they didn't feel fear. You know what I mean? It's so weird. It's so weird. So it's hard to explain, but like me just maintaining who I was and being the same wasn't enough of an impact than Dan going from like 110 down to 70. It made everyone kind of think, oh, I feel more relaxed now. Oh, Dan's making us feel relaxed now, kind of thing. So it worked in his favour, like so clever.
But watching it back last night, were you just like, how is he pulling this off? Like, how are Katie and Jess so dumb?
Well, yeah, they were gullible. And yeah, I think Ari knew, I knew, the oldies knew, Sid knew. But yeah, there's two girls. I think they were just really hoping that he'd back off them, and they saw that he was going to, and he had to this point stuck to his word.
Yeah.
He had never crossed anyone. Everything he'd said, and he'd been very upfront, he'd stuck to his word. But now he's undercover, so technically he doesn't have to stick to his word. But they don't know that he's willing to go down that path. So very, very clever man.
Tonight will be interesting. Can we chat quickly about your braids in the house? Because I was very impressed with the one on Monday night. But then last night's creation went to a whole new fucking level. I don't know what the hell is happening back there. Do you do them yourself, or who's doing them for you?
I never wear makeup, and I never sort of I can't braid my own hair, but I use that as a bit of a tactic to make connections with the girls in the house. So the times I had makeup, Christina and Tilly were like, "Can we do your makeup?" I'm like, "Go for it." Tilly tanned me. I went from like really white to tanned really quick in one of the episodes because I was like, you know what? I don't care what she does as long as like we're friends, this will work. But the last one, Tilly did like an S, and she's like, oh, it's an S for Sally, like my youngest daughter.
Oh.
But I was like, now after like I was like stabbed Nick in the back, it looked like an S, like a snake. And I was like, oh my God, I look like a snake. Like I'm the biggest snake in the house at the moment, and this is not helping me.
I was just impressed. I was like, what's happening here? And then they had you from the back, and I was like, wow, wait, that's going all over her head.
Then I saw that challenge, and I'm like, oh, they're totally going to get caught in the netting, like in that netting. So I was like, I've got to rip it all out. So it was a really quick costume change.
Speaking of the challenge, it's crazy what Ari can achieve once he puts his mind to something, isn't it? You looked absolutely spent in that third round. Like you just looked exhausted. How important was winning that challenge to you? Did you know that it was kind of do or die?
Oh, do or die. On that fourth round, I look at Ari, who's next to me, and I say, please, like, don't put me up. Like, I won't put you up. Don't put me up. And he turned to me and he said, I really want to get Dan. And then it was like, quick, go, bang. And he secretly, I think, had been working out every day. He had a mission. He's cunning. He's lied to everyone. He was fit as a fiddle. He was so fit. So I knew he was going to win it, and I was hoping he would sort of stick by his word and sort of maybe go for Dan. But actually, I was hoping Dan would win it because he got that advantage, and I knew
he was
like
close.
Maybe if I'd got that advantage, I might have had a better chance because I did really well in that first round, so I knew kind of how to work it. That Dan said to him it was a disadvantage because he hadn't had the practice of how to push, like dig it out and how much, energy you need to do whatever. So kind of worked both ways. But, yeah, Dan and I were still on the same wavelength. We were still going to go the three big guns if we both got to the end. So I was relying on him.
What aspect of life in the Big Brother house did you struggle with the most?
The fact you couldn't switch off. So even when you have your days off on a Sunday, it's all strategy. It's all strategy. You've just got to keep talking to people. And for me, I had nothing in common with a lot of them. Dan's very, loud and a bit boisterous and things like that. But I had more in common with him because he had kids and he'd lived a life and he kind of became a little bit of a mentor in my personal life. We'd have big, chats about how he buggered his life up, and he was sort of giving me tips to make sure I didn't do that to myself. So they're the things I wish Australia had seen.
Yeah.
Katie and Jess, they have no responsibilities sort of other than themselves. So it was hard for me to just sort of sit and talk about fitness, and I tried to get involved and things like that, and being an influencer and talking about sort of celebrities. I didn't know Mary's daughter was a famous. Yeah, I had no idea. I literally went in there and I was a fish out of water. So I couldn't understand why they were so tightly aligned to Mary, and I kept thinking I kept wanting to sort of get Mary out because I'm like, gee, she's the glue holding that alliance together. And I had no idea. Obviously they all knew, they were talking about it, that Martha was sort of famous and everything. And but yeah, I didn't sort of really know much. So I had obviously more in common with, say, Nick, who's about to get married and wants to have kids, and Dan, who'd had lots of life advice about business, running a business, and not stuffing up, the upbringing of your children.
Mitch said that you two were quite tight too.
Yeah, I think Mitch and I were meant to be like the animal, lovers and connect. But in early days, Mitch had sided with Max. And so at early days we were sort of on different alliances, but by the end, yeah, he's a legend. He really connected well with Dan too, and we kind of, we speak every day, so he is a legend. He's
a honey. You brushed Danny off quite spectacularly last night. Talk me through that.
Do you know what it was? This is Dan getting out of control again. We talked about we've still got the same game plan, but let's not talk to each other. Let's pretend we're not working together, so we don't seem like a threat. But we often walk past each other and go, right, the three big ones are going up if we win. Yep, done. But he kind of forgets his plan, and he starts to talk to me again, and and I'm like, don't talk to me. They'll know that we're still working together. I'm trying to look like I'm not on your side, And so I was like, kind of like that. My face was like, stop it, like you're ruining the facade, and kind of walking off. But the way it was edited, it looked like I was like brushing him off out of anger. But I was like, stop, you're ruining the plan.
Just how tense are those afternoons before an eviction? Because honestly, it stresses me out. Just watching from the sidelines, it makes me anxious. I sweat, and I'm just watching from my couch. Is it awkward? Like, do you feel a bit like a leper? Like, just no one wants to talk to you. Everyone's avoiding you. You know they're talking about you behind your back. No one wants you in the conversation. Like, how hard is it?
Oh, so I like, again, production, before you go in, they're like, we want you to fight for your life. If you're up for eviction, please, guys, fight for your life. And I took that on like so literally. And that first episode when I was up for eviction, far out, I went nuts and fought for my life. And I think I set the bar for the whole house of how you need to rally for your life, because everyone's like, oh my God. And every time someone was up for eviction, I'd be like, fight for your life. You're like, come on, fight for your life.
Go to battle.
And it just got more and more and more intense, because people just kept upping their game and thinking of more things to say. And that last episode, I didn't even have a shower after that sand thing. I literally jumped in the pool, got out to like wash the sand out of my nose and ears, and then I ran around like a headless chicken the whole like 4 hours or whatever it is, and I just did not stop, because everyone would start to side with me and then change their mind. And
there almost seems, watching last night, there almost seems like there's kind of three alliances almost forming. There's the Katie, Jess, Marley, then there's obviously the you, Danny, Till, and then there's kind of this new one of floaters led by Sid. With Marley currently being the favourite to win, do you think that the others might regret not listening to your last-minute plan of attack?
Totally. They will definitely regret that. How often do you get that chance? He was up, put up just because it was his turn, and I just thought, guys, like, you're going to get me out anyway eventually. Like, the challenges are going to get more cardio. I'm going to cark it. Let me go into battle for you for at least a few more episodes, because, I knew the numbers. I knew Mary and SJ were starting to get a bit annoyed with the girls that were sort of, their heads were getting bigger and bigger with this power they were gaining. And I'm like, there's an opportunity here. And I was quite close with Christina, because we were both up for eviction first episode, and we connected from that day onwards. So I had Tilly, Christina, Christina was in with Ari. My only problem was I was starting to figure out Ari's plan. I was starting to see his lies come through, and I actually questioned him a few times, and we had quite a confrontation in the house where I sort of went to him and said, mate, I know you're lying. Tell everyone you're lying. I've caught you, kind of thing. And he managed to flip it around, and I looked like a crazy person.
He gaslit you.
And he got out of it.
That's really interesting.
So no one believed him.
It's funny watching, Ari's diary room chats. I'm like, okay, so you're actually quite calculated, and you're lying through your teeth. You're playing a very different game to the other big players, but it's still very much a game. So you kind of have to respect it. But it will be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm definitely interested to see it.
He's my favourite player to watch.
Okay.
I walked out of that house and I said he will get to the end. He's going to be really exciting. So
amazing.
I love a villain. Who doesn't love a villain?
And one that owns it, one that wants to be a villain, like chooses.
Yeah, one who's actually pretty good at it. It's not just edited to be a villain. He is the real deal.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, you got quite emotional reliving Nick's eviction when we saw Danny rolling his eyes. Were those tears genuine?
Oh, mate. Not only did I stab him in the back, I felt like I stabbed myself in the back. Every tear in there is true. I didn't want to cry. I went in there, I'm like, I'm not crying. I'm never going to cry. And I think by day 3, I was like a blabbering mess.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I still get trolled being the crying girl. And I maybe cried nearly every day, but like, you're not a crier and you cried. No. I am a crier, so I stood no chance.
I think everyone in that house by day 3 in tears. Like, it's just it was so intense from the get-go. And everything was genuine. And really everyone, the way they were shown and portrayed, it was their genuine self. That some of them obviously got less airtime than others. So, but except for Mitch. Poor Mitch. He's He's not completely bird obsessed.
As I said to Mitch, mate, you got a great edit. Australia love you. Your DMs are blowing up. Like, just chill.
Mitch, own it. No, I think it's great. I mean, I was totally the weird lamb sheep person. So, and who wouldn't take their hat off?
That hat was your thing, babe. You had your thing. It was your style.
Do you know what happened? I was in the hotel quarantine beforehand, and I don't have enough money to kind of like go and get my hair done or anything. So I do box dyes for like $6. But I got that purple shampoo, and I had left it in my hair for like way too long. And the producers came in. I'm like, my head is purple. I cannot get rid of the purple. And they're like, oh my God, what have you done? I'm like, I don't know. I can't fix it. So for the first like 3 days, I did wear my hat constantly because I had this huge purple patch on the back of my head that I was waiting to like kind of wash out.
We've all been there. We've all us blondes, we've all overtoned our hair before. Trust me, girlfriend. Trust me, you're not alone in that.
And it was the first time.
Last night you turned to Danny quite last minute and you asked him who you should vote for. Why did you do that?
Because I just didn't want the guilt I had over my head of what I did to Nick. It was to make myself feel better. It just killed me. I literally didn't sleep. I couldn't eat the next day. I cried. When I walk out of that eviction before Dan even arrives, I'm actually like hyperventilating, crying. Everyone's trying to like console me, and I was just like, it's not, I thought I was tough. I thought I was a good game player, but when it actually came down to doing the dirty on someone, it absolutely killed me. Like, I said, I want to go home.
I think that's the beauty of this experiment and this social, it is a social experiment. And I think that what you just said just then, you can have all the best intentions. You can go in there and say, I'm going to play hardball. I'm ruthless. I don't care about these people. I met them 20 days ago. End of the day, you still have lived with these people 24/7. You've made connections. You've made bonds. You care about them. And is that not the perfect example of human nature? Like, you wanted to play hard, you did play hard, and because you got upset, that doesn't undermine the game you played. You're still strong. You're still a great game player, but you also have a fucking heart because you are human.
Oh, and that's what it's a weird, sick game, isn't it? You're supposed to make these really intense connections really quick, and then you're supposed to evict people as the numbers go down. So you're meant to turn on them at some point. I didn't want to backstab that early. I didn't think I'd have to. I'd watched other seasons where they're all quite friendly for quite a while, but we went so hard so early that I ended up in that position earlier than I wanted to. And yeah, it's to follow through with it. I knew I had to follow through with it was a lot harder than I thought. And if I went back in there, I'd still probably do the same thing.
Yeah,
to be honest,
no regrets. There's no point having regrets. I think it's just that's where you've just got to leave, and you just got to leave the game at the door. You leave the game the minute you leave that house. The game is behind you and forward. Or it's up to you. But I chose to focus on the friendships I've made more than what happened behind me. Like, that was a game. Yeah. They said things they didn't mean. They did things they didn't want to do. At the end of the day, you still made those friendships, those connections, and that is what you'll have for the rest of your life. So there's no point worrying about that. And that's why you were at Nick's wedding.
I know. I'm so grateful that he realised it is a game. It's a game.
It is. So leave that shit behind and move forward as as you've just made lifelong friends. And honestly, that's the best part about Big Brother, if you ask me. Yeah. You often spoke about your family and the struggles you guys have been having on the farm with bushfires and floods and droughts and all those, natural phenomenons that you guys have to deal with on an everyday basis out there. You obviously didn't manage to leave with the prize money, but for anyone listening that might want to help out, how can we? Like, is there a charity or is there an initiative? Like, how can we get behind to help the farmers of country South Australia?
Go out and buy a lamb roast once a week for your family. So you get something out of it, and we get something out of it. It's supply and demand. If you guys, support us in that way, or go to your local farmers market, just that way. I don't want handouts. I wanted to earn the prize money. But it's not just me going through this. It's the whole of the Australian farmers, out there. So just support local, support your farm, nearest to you. Go for a drive, go to a winery, and then
Okay, if that's all I have to do is eat delicious food and, support buy delicious local produce, I think I can handle that.
Yeah.
Speaking of a lamb roast, I really hope that your husband had one waiting for you when you arrived back home.
You know what? He was so knackered from looking after 3 kids. I didn't expect him to have anything ready for me. But do you know what he did have? Lots of foot massages for me, because I was very much appreciated by the time I got home, because, he had to run a farm, look after 3 little kids. And I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know anyone who'd do that for their partner. So how lucky am I?
You're both lucky. I think you're an absolute catch, and obviously a great mum and a great partner. Final question. Who do you want to see take home Big Brother 2021?
Tilly. I'd love Tilly to get to the end. She's got her heart on her sleeve. She is playing who she is. And Ari's great. I do like him. And Dan's great. I'd love to get him to the end. But I think it would change Tilly's life. Ari's got plenty of money. Dan's got plenty of money. Tilly, she's going to be a superstar.
That's a fair point. Those two don't need the coin.
No, I'm all for wanting someone to change someone's life.
Plus, female, we'd love to see a girl take it home, won't we?
Absolutely, yeah. And she's kind. She's so kind.
I think that Tilly has
hasn't intimidated anyone.
She's found this sweet spot where she is playing she's being herself, which is not, Ari's not, Danny's not. So Tilly's being herself. She's kind of playing with her heart, but she's also being strategic. She's managed to find this balance between playing a strategic game, but also still being herself. She's often helping out others in the challenge. She's shouting out bits of advice, things she's found that I think that she's found that sweet spot between being a good human and playing with her heart, but still very much playing with her head and being strategic, which I think is very interesting to watch.
She had one sneak peek into Tilly. Her dad's a psychologist, and he gave her some hints. And when she's in the challenges and she's holding the bar, and she's the last one left with Katie, and she starts talking about, hey, Katie, if you drop, I'm safe, or if I drop right now, am I safe, kind of thing. But Tilly knows she's got plenty in the tank. She starts that conversation early, because she said mentally it makes that other person start to think, oh, I can give up soon, because she's saying I'm safe, or she's going to give up. So it actually creates a shutdown process in the competitor's mind, and they think they don't have to try for much longer. But Tilly's got plenty in the tank, and they end up actually dropping instead of her dropping. And she uses that tactic a lot, and it gets her. It definitely gets her further in the game.
So first of all, I find out she's some champion rock climber. And now I'm finding out that her dad's a psychologist, and she's like a mini psychologist in training.
Yes, she's so clever. She's a huge Big Brother player.
Also a fan of the show. I tagged her in something the other day because one of the housemates were talking about her, and she slid into my DM. She's like, oh my god, I loved you so much on the show. I watched you when I was little. And I was trying to do some quick maths, and I was like, hang on, she's only
how young would she be?
I was like, fucking
We're old, aren't we?
I was like, yeah, you're my age, aren't you? You're 33, right?
Yeah.
I was like, fucking hell, how old were you? 10? Were you watching me?
As if she was up that late.
Mel, it has been an absolute delight to chat with you. Thank you so much. I think you played an amazing game. You played a strategic game. You were super strong. I don't know if you have daughters, but you do. You have a daughter. I think that you were an amazing role model to her. So you should be really, really proud of the game you played.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So nice to chat.
See ya.
Bye, Mel. Oh, Mel, what a woman. You definitely made your kids proud. As always, guys, new Too Much Tully Big Brother episode dropping after every eviction. Plus, don't forget our regular episode of Too Much Tully every Tuesday. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at Too Much Tully. DM me any questions you may have for the housemates, and I will see you very shortly.